Hello and welcome to Fortress, Alaska. I'm your host Dave, and today we're going to take a look at the Italian Carcano Rifle, which was Italy's main battle rifle from about 1891 through the end of World War II. This happens to be the cavalry carbine. I'll say it in English and not Italian. It is a shortened, simplified version. It has a built-in bayonet, as you can see there. Simple sights, non-adjustable. In reality, a soldier in the field does not need adjustable sights. If his sights are factory set or zeroed in some way, just let it go with that. Most soldiers in his conscript army are not trained well enough to use adjustable sights. Most soldiers in the U.S. military are not trained well enough to use adjustable sights. Some things to note: it does have a metal butt pad, and you can see this, what looks like a crack here. This is actually a seam, not a crack. The wooden stock was made in multiple pieces to conserve on wood. You can make more stocks when you cut smaller pieces of wood to start, and therefore you conserve wood. Europe is not a hotbed of a good supply of wood during World War II, so anything that can use less wood makes it simpler and cheaper and easier. Remember, even the Germans used a lot of laminated wood during the war. As you can see, it is a bolt-action rifle, and it served the Italian military well for all those years. So, let's take a look at the ammunition. The standard ammunition would have been issued in Mannlicher style clips. These are N-block clips, and when you finish shooting, these eject out the bottom. Obviously, I'm not going to demonstrate with these because these are live rounds, but when I do demonstrate, I will use these. These all have been fired. They have no primer anymore. Well, the primer's there, but it's gone off. They have no powder, they have no bullets, so they are totally harmless. And here's a modern manufactured box of Carcano ammo. I'd like you to take note of the bullet diameter, 0.264 inches, which is about 6.71 millimeters. The actual loading for the original Carcano rifle was 6.77 millimeters. It doesn't sound like a lot, but when you talk about precision shooting, that 6/1000ths of an inch, or 6/100ths of an inch, 6/100ths of an inch will make a difference. However, the land diameter, I should say, was the same for both the modern ammo and the original Carcano ammo. One thing to note is the Carcano rifle used gain twist rifling, which means as the barrel goes, as you go down the barrel towards the muzzle, the twisting of the rifling gets faster and faster, which is supposed to enhance accuracy. I don't think it made enough of a difference to make a difference, and therefore it was eventually dropped out, and I don't think any other military is bothered with it. Standard rifling is accurate enough for a soldier. You're not going to be making 1,000-yard shots on somebody with one of these. That's not its intent. It's a close combat weapon. Most warfare is done within 300 yards, and with iron sights, this is a 300-yard rifle, no problem. So let's just talk a little bit about the Carcano rifle while you take a look at it here. It was invented by Lieutenant Colonel Salvatore Carcano, designed in 1890, originally known as the Modello 91 or M91. The cartridge is the 6.5 millimeter by 52 millimeter, or the 6.5 Carcano. And if I interchange Carcano and Carcano, excuse me, the proper pronunciation is Carcano. So, just so you know. It originally fired a 162 grain bullet at about 2,300 feet per second, which gives you about 1,900 foot-pounds of energy, more than enough to deal with an enemy soldier. Whereas modern bullets are loaded at roughly the same, but they use lighter bullets now. These 139 grain bullets, so they'll go faster. You roughly come out the same energy. It uses, as I mentioned, the Mannlicher style N-block clip. They feed from the top of the rifle, and I will demonstrate that later. But notice there's no top or bottom, so whenever you grab one of these, you can just shove it in. You don't have to have any input from anyone. You don't have to think about which way is top. Bullets go forward, that's all you have to know, and I think that's pretty much a given. So there's no top, no bottom, just like a Garand clip. You don't have to worry about it, just shove it in and you're good to go. It was basically unchanged for most of the war. It's an extremely accurate rifle with the right ammo, the actual Carcano ammo. The modern ammo, like I mentioned, the bullet diameters are slightly different, and when you're going for accuracy, that 6/100ths of an inch will make a difference. This is the model 9138 Cavalry model, as I mentioned before. Now, the Carcano was planned to be updated because the Italians decided they needed a bigger cartridge. So they were going to upgrade to a 7.35 millimeter by 51 millimeter Carcano with a bullet diameter of 7.57 millimeters or 0.298 inches, just short of a .30 caliber. It would fire a 128 grain bullet at 2480 feet per second for about 1762 foot-pounds of energy. Still plenty to deal with any human-sized target. And the reason they picked that diameter was because you could redo the bore and re-drill it and rifle it, and that was the max diameter you could make it and still keep the integrity of the steel strong enough to work as a rifle barrel. So that's why that diameter was picked. No other reason. So they could just rebore these barrels. It's a cost-saving issue. Just a little more looking at the Carcano rifle. Let's take a close look from the top. See, it's a bolt action, very simple design. There's the follower that pushes the cartridges up. Very simple rear sight. Now I would like to note something about this. This gun has very few markings on it. And if there are any actual factory marks beyond what you see here, they are hidden somewhere. And my best guess is this rifle was actually produced after Italy surrendered to the Allies and basically joined the Allied side, and the Civil War was still going on in Italy between the North and the South. We call it a Civil War, but really the Germans were controlling the North. So anyways, so I think this was produced afterwards. That's my best guess. So it doesn't have any of the Italian fascist markings on it. So it was probably one of the latest ones made. And as you can see, it's extremely simple. Easy to make, cost effective to make. You can spit these out by the thousands for a fraction of the cost of an M1 Garand or a Mauser 98. Now, both rifles, both the 98 and the Garand, are better rifles, but if you're going to have a bolt action, I think this is a better bolt action than the Car 98 because it's just as effective and it's cheaper and easier to produce. Cost of production is an issue during war. Materials are an issue during war. This gun is simpler, smaller, and lighter. It would have been a much more cost-effective weapon to make. The Car 98 is overly complex with its fancy sights. And yeah, K98 probably lasts 1,000 years. The average soldier didn't last that long. The average item in combat only lasted maybe 6 months. So think about it. Do you really need to make a rifle that can last 1,000 years, or one that'll last 100 years is good enough, which is this one right here. To load the Carcano rifle, it's quite easy. You take your M-block clip with 6 rounds of ammo, push it straight down in until you hear it click, and then you hear it click, and it is now ready to chamber a round. We're not going to do that simply because, well, first of all, these are empty cartridges and they've been fired and they don't chamber all that well. But now, if you want to empty your Carcano, because like you're done, you want to be safe, you want to clean it, whatever, you've had it loaded, you press down a bit on it, and there's a button in here in the trigger guard. Don't know if you can see that button, but there's a button right there. So you press down a bit on the clip, you push that button, and out comes the M-block clip. So that's how you load and unload the Carcano rifle. So as we mentioned, it's a simple bolt action rifle. It cocks on opening. You probably could notice that it did cock, so let me close that again and you can watch for it. So I'm going to drop the hammer. So watch back here and you'll see how it cocks on opening. Pull it back, chamber a new round, and then you close it and lock it. To put on the safety, it's as simple as pushing in on that. There's your safety switch. Now it's on safe. Gun will not fire, disconnects the trigger. Push it forward and push it back down and you're off of safe. Now, when you're dealing with old rifles, it's probably best not to dry fire them, so if you, as you're closing it, if you squeeze the trigger and then close it, it'll slowly lower the firing pin down. So that's how you close it safely. Once again, you have it open, you squeeze the trigger and just close it, and you don't have to dry fire it. Now to remove the bolt from the gun, you bring it up, you pull it back, it's going to stop, You pull the trigger, no chance of it going off because the bullet, if you left the cartridge in here, it would be way over here. The firing pin's way back here. Totally impossible. Plus the hammer's in the wrong spot. And that's how you remove the bolt. Just pull the trigger and pull it out. Very simple. Like I said, it's a very simple gun. So there we go. That's the entire field stripping of the Carcano rifle. That's it. That's all you got to do. Now to deploy the bayonet. Really not complicated. You just pull back on it. That breaks it loose. I got to take it out of film, out of camera's picture, but you just put it forward and then slide it back. Relatively simple. You want to put it back away. It's locked in place now. You can't just pull it out, okay? So you have to think about it. How does it go? Well, look, it's got a button. So you simply push that button in, then you can pull it out and fold it back in. So here we don't want to knock the camera over, so we'll move out of the way. And then you push it forward again. So that's the extent of being able to deploy your bayonet. Quite simple, quite easy, and the bayonet's always with you. And note, there's no edge on this side, so if you grab it, you're not going to hurt yourself. It snaps in there good and tight. You can grab it, you're not going to hurt yourself. And yeah, it's kind of old and has some discoloration. It's been through a war, so what the heck. And it's military surplus. The nice thing about Carcano rifles is, should you want one, they're not exactly in high demand. So you can get a Carcano for about $250. Other than being a military surplus and thing of interest and maybe a fun gun to take to the range, that's about what it's good for. And if you are good with iron sights, it would be a fine hunting rifle for deer. As long as you know how to shoot. 6.5 Carcano is more than enough to take out a deer for deer hunting. I don't think I'd hunt much bigger than a deer, but it would be suitable for deer hunting. So, in closing, this is the Carcano rifle. I had planned to take it shooting, but we had a blizzard here, and the blizzard's lasted all week, and it's been snowing on and off. And it's just not suitable for me to drive out to the range and do that. Plus, I really couldn't film in the heavy snowfalls. So, plus, sitting and watching someone shoot a bolt-action rifle is not exactly very interesting. Maybe on another video, I'll just do a short video of the accuracy I can get out of this rifle. Anyways, you might know that the Carcano rifle was the style of rifle used by Lee Harvey Oswald to assassinate John F. Kennedy. And it is an accurate rifle, so don't believe the myths that it is not an accurate rifle, and do not believe the myths about the magic bullet. They only ever show you one side of the bullet. If you saw the other side of the bullet, you would see it was badly damaged. So a lot of that is just myth. Anyways, the rifle is more than capable of doing what Lee Harvey Oswald did. It's not that difficult. So please like and subscribe. Please leave questions or comments. And as always, have a good day and get out shooting.